Welcome. I wanted to share in this practice some more standing poses focused partly around the forward fold action, but also other things that complement that. So we'll be looking at the posture called Parsvottanasana. The name actually comes from Parsva, which means to the side, and Uttanasana, which is also the name of the standing forward fold. So it's kind of saying you're doing a forward fold, means intense pose, done to the side. But in that posture, we also have that positioning of the arms behind the back, like this, or in prayer pose. So that's an extension, it's called, of the shoulder, whereas this is a flexion of the shoulder. So we're starting to put together some more complex elements, different actions in the body added together. So that's kind of what we'll be exploring. So we could start by opening up the chest with the arms forward and then explore shoulder extension also. So if you come from kneeling, maybe with the knees a little bit apart if that works for you, fold your way forward and down and have your hands onto some upended bricks. If you haven't got bricks, put your hands at the wall as high as you need until your upper back feels long. And then let your head come down onto some kind of support. And start to refer your breath into the lower area of the lungs, so that that diaphragm muscle, which connects to the rib cage all the way around the lower ribs, starts to move more freely. And by warming up the diaphragm muscle, we allow the breath to permeate into every area of the lungs. With the hands high, you can get more space through the side body for the breath, and you can also feel that you're stabilizing around the scapula by pushing the shoulder blade down onto the rib cage. Just soften across the forehead. Feel yourself settling in the pose. Good. And then if we put the bricks a little bit lower, we could try and have an active shoulder flexion. So you could start with the hands there, push down initially, and then actually try lift up your hands away from the bricks, which is quite a lot harder than it looks like. Release. And then let's explore shoulder extension. So just let your hands come behind your back. Have one palm on top of the other, and then lift your elbows. Squeeze your elbows towards each other. And then start to separate the hands from the back and start to straighten your arms. Turn your palms towards each other and then pull up with your little fingers so your triceps engage. Pulling your shoulder blades down your back. And then bend the elbows again. Still floating the hands away from your back. Squeeze the elbows together towards each other and then land the hands. And then just do it once more. Lift, elbows towards each other. Lengthen the arms. Squeeze the triceps. Good. And then this time do a shoulder rotation. So start to bring your arms forward. So you're going to end up needing to turn the palms in, external rotation at that shoulder joint. Lift up with your thumbs. And then go the other way. So inward rotation at that glenohumeral joint, it's called. Lift the hands high. Hover over your back as you bend your elbows. Squeeze the elbows close. Release the hands down. Pull back with your hands to come up to kneeling. Good. So we'll do one passive extension for the shoulders. You can use a belt behind your back, more or less looped as wide as your shoulders, something like that. Push your hands down, pull your hands back a little, and imagine your shoulder blades pushing forward onto the chest. If you're very open here, you could just interlock your fingers. So as you come forward, still pull back with your fingertips. So you're getting that feeling of the shoulder blades pulling down the back. Keeping the face quite soft. This is essentially making lots of space for your lungs. And then pull back with the hands to come up. Pull down, 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 shoulder blades down, release. And we could try one actively. So bring the hands behind, push together. Bend the elbows again, same as we did in the child pose. Squeeze the elbows towards each other. Release, same thing. Lengthen. Pull up with your little fingers. And release. So something of waking up the muscles across the middle of your upper back. That can help actually stabilize the upper back. So if the shoulders tend to fall forward, that can help with that habit. Now we're going to get into the hamstrings more. So the posture we'll be looking at first is that Parsvottanasana, but we can take it first of all from down dog and work the leg action. So if you walk your arms forward for down dog, spread your fingers well, lift up and just start to warm up your hamstrings more. If you know you want more hamstring warm up than down dog, feel free to just pause and come into that in your own time. Do whatever you need. So bend your knees, lift up to sit bones, and then just start to straighten and bend the legs again, feeling into the calf muscles. And then just bend one knee and straighten the other leg, lifting high to the sit bone. If that's just throwing your spine forward, you might want to keep both knees bent, but just one a little more bent than the other. Don't hurry this action too much because you want to invite areas that tend to stay a bit closed or sticky to release. And then when you feel ready, straighten both legs and imagine drawing back with your shin bone so that helps open out behind the knee. Look forward, the right leg's going to step through the hands. Those of you who don't feel so agile in these transitions, who just drop the knees to walk that leg around, that might work better for you. Bricks. If you haven't got bricks, find some books or something, because we're just going to get this leg to be really long and also pull forward with the chest and draw the shoulder blades down. So this leg position is essentially Parsvottanasana. When we do it without the hands on the floor, we drop the heel down, but with that heel up, you'll feel it's a bit easier to level the hips. Drawing back at that right outer hip a little to let the left side come forward. And then to get into the calf muscle again, the gastrocnemius, you can actually lift the toes and you could either catch with your hand there or you could put your brick there and get more into the calf muscle. Yeah, lovely. And then release back for down dog. You could play around with using the bricks there. So heel of hand on the brick as you step back. And then left leg's going to come through. Start to lengthen back to that left outer hip. Letting the right side come forward. Open up with the chest. Remember that shoulder work we did? You can keep that upper back quite steady there. Enjoy that feeling of length and ease along the abdomen. Smooth and even breath in and out. Those outer hips are slightly compacting towards the center because essentially we're still continuing with that Tadasana action here, the inner thighs rolling back. And then lifting the toes. You can plant your foot on a brick or just give a little lift up of that front foot. So one way that we think about the body in terms of the fascia is connective line. So from this back heel all the way over the back body to the crown of the head as being interconnected. Yeah, lovely. Releasing down, and then we're just going to step forward. Good. Lift up with your chest. Take a breath in. Exhale, bend your knees for your first forward fold and just release the back line by massaging into the back of the head, base of the skull, top of the neck, and then resting the hands there. So the knees bent means we can feel the release maybe into the back more,
because we've already done lots of release into the legs. Good, then lift your elbows, pull your chest forward, bend your knees more. So your bum's more or less going level with your knees. Push your head into your hands, open the elbows wide. Try not to be too poked forward with the lower ribs. And then come all the way up to standing. Release your arms all the way down. Good, so one of the ways in which the body allows muscles to open is by contracting the opposite group of muscles. It's called agonist and antagonist. So we want to release the hamstrings, so we're going to engage the quads. So we'll do that by bending the knees, dropping the weight back, knees more or less over heels. Your glutes will also engage a bit. And then just open your chest with an in-breath and round the spine with an out-breath. And just repeat that action a couple of times, whatever feels good for you. And if you want to work more in the legs, you can kind of rock a little and sit fairly low in that half squat action. Then we could interlock the hands and make it from here, opening, closing. Close. You're getting a full body action. Exhaling to round the spine. Inhaling to open up. Good, one more. And then inhale, come up through the center, straighten the legs, pulling down with the tailbone. Exhale, release your arms wide and down. Lovely. So we'll have a look at the standing forward fold, Uttanasana. Take your bricks so they're ready to catch your hands. Hold the pelvis. So sometimes we think of this just as a forward fold, but instead of that, we're going to think of it as a reaching up, lengthening the whole waist and spine. Draw the elbows back a little so your shoulder blades are hugging down. Take a deep in-breath. And then lift, 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 as if you're diving into it. So your chest is lifting, your abdomen stays really long, and you fold. So you may find, to make that possible, you have to bend your knees, otherwise your pelvis kind of gets stuck. So just assess what you need, and assess how low your hands want to comfortably come. So you can release the hamstrings, release the back line of the body, without feeling like you've totally collapsed. Then release the weight of the head there. Smooth breath in and out. So your feet are pushing down, but also push into your hands so that also gives the body more information that it's allowed to release forward and down in this forward fold. If you're very flexible, you can have your hands next to the feet, pushing away into the earth. There's no one correct shape or posture. It really just depends on your body, on your nervous system. And then inhale, pull up forward with the chest. You may want to bend your knees more to do that. Exhale, put your hands up onto your pelvis and lift the elbows towards each other. And then with that open chest, come up to standing, inhaling, pull down with your tailbone. Exhale, release your arms all the way down. Good. So you may want to just stay with that same version, classical Uttanasana, or you may feel you can go for your big toes with your first two fingers and your thumb. That's Padangusthasana, because it's big toe pose. Same principle. We're going to lengthen up in order to go forward and down. Inhalation, lift with the chest. Exhale, hinge forward at the hip joint. That might mean bending your knees. Catch your big toes with first two fingers and thumb. Good. If your feet just seem ridiculously far away and you're all crumped up, you repeat the same posture again. Inhale, lengthen with the chest. Exhale, fold down by pulling on your toes, but they stay rooted. Smooth in and out breath. Lift up on the shoulder blades. Check that the front thighs are working, the quads are working. Good. If you feel like you're really pulling into the pelvis, if you're very mobile, resist a bit more at the lower abdomen, hug in at the lower abdomen. Inhale, lift up with the chest. Exhale, hands on the pelvis, elbows high. Inhale, up to standing. Exhale, release and step the feet together. Beautiful. So now we should be a little bit more prepared for Parsvottanasana. So you can keep your bricks to the side.
We're just going to step back. So the right foot is forward and then the left leg is stepping back. Press through the outside edge of that left foot so that you're revolving the pelvis around. The left inner thigh is rolling back. Now, see, can you root down with the tailbone? So you might find it more useful to think of pulling up with the pubic bone. So you've got that length along the abdomen. Arms come behind. Catch your elbows. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other. Take a deep in breath. As you exhale, turn your navel a little bit towards that right thigh, reaching forward and down. Keep your upper back quite long for now. So if you keep going, you'll probably round the spine. But I want you to try and keep the shoulder blades hugging towards each other. Steady breath in and out. Good. And then from here, check you're lifted with your chest, because we're going to pull forward with the arms and lengthen all the way to the fingertips and pull the thumbs up to the sky. And then inhale to come up. Good. We'll stay on this side. Take your arms wide and then take your hands behind. So second option is to, again, hold wrists or forearms, or you may find you're feeling a bit more warm and you can press the palms together and squeeze the elbows back. Inhalation, root the tailbone as you lift the breastbone. Exhale, fold towards that right thigh so the pelvis stays fairly level, that left outer hip coming forward. Keep the length through the spine. That might feel quite high for you, or you may feel you can come lower. Keep the work on the front thighs, on the quads. Good. And then with your inhalation, pull forward and up with the chest. Come all the way up. Release your arms and step forward. Beautiful. From there, keep that left foot forward and step your right leg back. So that outer edge of that right heel wants to press down. So in terms of how far we angle the foot, if it comes all the way in, we're going to feel quite wobbly. But if it's 90 degrees to the front leg, this hip won't come around as easily. So a lot of the foot position is dependent on how much mobility you've got there in the hip joint. So you can kind of play around and see what's your perfect position so you feel relatively level at the pelvis. Pull down with the tailbone, holding the elbows behind the back. Lift with the chest. Exhale, fall forward. Feel like you're lengthening the spine, but that left outer hip wants to come back a little. So your navel turns to the left. That's going to allow the right hip to come around. Smooth breaths. Keep the quadriceps working. Focus in this one on keeping those shoulder blades towards each other. Pulling the breastbone forward, away from the navel, so the whole torso feels long. Good. And then lift the chest and pull forward with your arms. Lift your thumbs so your shoulder blades feel flat on your back. And then with an in-breath, lift the hands first to come up. And then from here, we circle the arms wide and kind of work out how much extension you want at your shoulders as you take behind, or how much your shoulders are agreeable to. Squeeze your shoulder blades down and together. Root the tailbone. Lift the breastbone. Take a breath in. Exhale, start to fold once more. Navel towards that left thigh. You can just look forward because that will help your upper back stay long. And then in the last moment, bring your head into alignment. Then only if it's the hamstrings that are releasing, keep coming forward and down. That way you can avoid just collapsing the chest down. So the reason I'm recommending that is because then your breath will stay longer, so the nervous system will stay more relaxed. Good. And then when you feel ready, use your in-breath to come all the way up. Pull down with the tailbone. Release down with your hands, long arms, step forward. And just pause there. Smooth in and out breath. Good. So we've prepared the upper back lengthening, the hamstrings, that stability in the core. So we can add all this together with the revolved triangle pose, which as we analyze it when we go into it, you'll see is essentially the same kind of actions. So we could just step back as we did with the Parsvottanasana, You may end up fairly narrow between the legs. So what we could do is just start with the feet wide as if you were going to do Trikonasana, triangle pose. So if you just step right foot right, left, and turn for triangle, it's the same kind of distance you want, but this time we're going to have the pelvis facing the same as it was in Parsvottanasana. So lift and replace that back foot for a moment. Lift the heel, turn the pelvis, and then draw the heel down again. So you see your pelvis is this way towards the short edge of your mat. Hands on the hips. So now you'll feel that same action that you had in Parsvottanasana. Pull down with the tailbone, lift up with the breastbone. Good. We're going to lift just the left arm. My right leg's forward, left arm lifting. Keep pressing through the outside edge of that back foot. Look forward, lengthen the spine forward. So we've had this action in the last pose, but now we add the twist. Take the hand to the leg, or if you have it, a chair or a brick or even the wall. Squeeze your hips towards each other. Draw that left shoulder under. And then if you feel steady, keep pressing through the outer edge of the left foot, the back foot, and reach up with your right arm. Turn your chest up. Keep the face soft. So you want to keep pressing through the left foot as you open up with the chest. Check that the body feels easeful enough. If it's too much for the neck, look forward or down. Lengthen forward through the spine by hugging the hips towards each other. Good. And then that right hand's going to come to the back, to the sacrum. Pull the chest forward. Pull up with your left arm. Come all the way up. Lovely. Let's just open to the side and then we can go the other way to the other side. So you may want to bring your brick with you. So now you're going to turn your left foot all the way out. Turn your right foot in enough that you can revolve the pelvis all the way around towards that short end of your mat. Hold the pelvis to get the alignment, hugging the hips together. Weight through the outer edge of that right foot. So just check that this right inner thigh is rolling back. That's going to give you space across the sacrum. Raise the right arm, take a breath in. Exhale, look forward as you reach forward. So you're focusing on length of the spine. You need lots of stability at the legs to support that length. Lengthen forward, then we just add in the twist. Bring the hand across. Don't just drop the chest. Lift the height up to wherever your hamstrings allow. Hug the hips towards each other. Good, right foot pressing. Draw under the right shoulder. Draw over with the left. Smooth breath in and out. Then if you're steady, reach up with that left arm. Good, smooth, steady breath, relaxed gaze. So the more stable you can be through the legs, the more you can turn the chest. If you're falling over, I'll show you some alternatives in a second. Good, when you're ready, look down, bring that left hand down, pull forward and up with the right hand. Come all the way up. Let's just open out for a second and then step your feet together. I'm going to turn around to face you. Good. So if that felt a little bit torturous, fear not, there's lots of alternatives. One of those is to not cross over with the hand. So if I wanted to turn to this left foot, I could keep my right hand here under the right shoulder, and then I haven't got to twist quite so far. So you can try in that way. And then in terms of not going so low, obviously if you put your hand on your leg, which is wobbling, it doesn't feel super stable. So you can either put your hand on a wall or just have a higher prop. And that also means your spine is going to be able to stay longer. So if I have my right foot forward, left foot turned in, then my left arm is going to come forward. This might feel enough in terms of coming forward if my hamstrings are restricted. Because it's a twist pose, you want to focus your attention on the twist, not just the hamstring pose, not just the forward fold. So here, or here might feel like a better posture for you. So those are some ways to play with the modification. And just to really remember that these key actions, so in this pose, Parsvottanasana it's called, Parsvottanasana, revolved triangle. The main thing is the revolving, because there's a million other poses where we can lengthen the hamstrings or lengthen that whole back line of the body. So just being quite specific about that. Good. Lastly, last pose for this session, we're going to step the feet wide. It's quite nice to take one last simple forward fold as a counter pose. So press your weight to the outer edges of the feet, sink through the heels so the arches are lifted, and hold the pelvis. So from here, again, just check your stability is balancing your mobility. So if you're someone whose body tends to be very open, then really grip on, hug the outer hips together, hug the navel back, hug the lower abdomen back. If you're someone whose body tends to be quite restrictive, you don't have to keep reinforcing those actions so much. So we'll open with the chest and then fold down, bend the knees if your hamstrings are tight, glide the pelvis down. Good, and check that your thighs feel quite stable, that you're hugging in. Again, if you're very bendy, you might tend to roll the inner thighs back here, but you want to grip them together and then come down. You can release the head down. You could have your hands on the chair still. You could slide the fingertips back in line with the toes and then pull up with your shoulder blades as you release the weight of the head towards the floor. Steady breath in and out. Good, and then just lift, open up with the chest. Exhale, bring the hands up onto the pelvis. Elbows high. Inhale, come up. Step together. Good, and then time for some counter poses. So just release down. Your legs will be tired. If you feel that you're really open and you want to deepen those actions, you could take a seated forward fold sequence. If you're more or less ready for Shavasana, you could just relax in child pose Shavasana, or you may want to add something like a bridge pose in to counterbalance some of the forward folds. So just see whatever you need and enjoy your practice.